Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, classic, less known classic. This is episode number 3013, Doubleshot number 15? Wait, hold on. Yeah, 3015, Doubleshot number 2909. Okay, so this we're discussing the second and final crossover for Punisher. With him in his two spin-off books. Punisher Warzone and Punisher War Journal. Here we're discussing the 5-part crossover known as Countdown. It starts in Punisher Volume 2, number 103. Part 2. Part 2 is in Punisher War Journal number 79. Part 3 is in Punisher Warzone number 41, which is the final issue of that volume. And then it's then it's back to Punisher Volume 2 for issue 104, which is the final issue of that volume. And also the final issue of Punisher Warzone number 80, which is the final issue of the first volume for that series. So in this story, this is a 5-part countdown to the end of this line of Punisher books. I'll remember this later. So basically, throughout this story, you have Punisher taking on basically Bullseye, being confronted by Hitman, who is basically a copycat Punisher. Yeah, he basically is attacked by this copycat one. And we get 2 deaths at the start of the story. We have death of the character named Phalanx, who is a robot who debuted in Punisher Warzone number 1. It's also his Cord Mather. And he made his return just prior to this one, in the previous issue. And also Vito Vedati, he gets killed off too. He debuted in Punisher 61. So he was not around very long. He was a mobster from that book. It basically was back between this and Warzone. And then after 64 was into this very story. It's let's throw the bang by killing off 2 characters. Microchip is in this book too. But he's working with oh crap. So then Microchip is killed in issue 79 by the character Stone Cold. Yep. Oh yeah, eventually first you also have Payback in here too. Yeah, he's a copycat vigilante. He's a copycat Punisher. And he does take part in the story. But after the he only takes part in the Punisher War Journal issues, but after issue 80, he's never seen again in the comics. There was a Pony Girl. She made a debut just a little bit prior to this very story, and she herself, after 79, which is the second part of this very story, she is never seen again after this. Nope, it's like. The best way to describe this crossover is that let's just wrap up all these characters. Though in the case of Michael Fazzati, he actually has a turn after this in Marvel Knights. Of course, the third part happened to be the final issue of Punisher War Journal. Actually, it was Punisher War Zone with the final issue of that book. And we have Death of the Cruise. Yeah, he's in one of these copycat Punishers, and he gets killed off in the third and halfway through the story. The Kingpin gets involved in here, but he doesn't do very much. Nope, Kingpin does not play a big role in this story. Nope, he does not. Of course, you have more gangsters here. We have first deal with that one-shot character, Max Silk, who's a drug dealer who appears in the final issue of Punisher Volume 2. And then, of course, the finale is, of course, dealt in Punisher War Journal number 0. The character Stone Cold is killed off in the finale. Nick Fury gets involved in this story. Yeah, he basically tries to get S.H.I.E.L.D. involved. And really the whole purpose of S.H.I.E.L.D. appearing in this story toward the very end is to help set up the very next status quo Punisher Double Edge, where Punisher goes nuts. We also have you of Los Blancos, a drug game appears as one issue. Bullseye, of course, after this story wraps up, he returns in the very next Flying Punisher. Len Michaels, the female Punisher, she makes a return to this book in the final issue of War Journal, and she does return after this. She returns in the very next Flying Punisher War Journal, but yeah, it's like when she returns, it is like it's in 2007, which is roughly 12 years after this issue came out. Payback. This issue here, the finale for this first storyline, his last known appearance in comics. This he was a potential recruit for Initiative. And that kind of wraps up basically. By the way, Chuck Dixon does all 5 parts here. Yes, he does. Doug Wesley does the finale. He does basically the final issue of War Zone. War Journal, excuse me. The final issue of War Zone is done by Rod William. The penultimate issue of War Zone is done by Doug Wiley. And the start of the storyline is Rod William. It's a very interesting story for what it is. But unlike in the case of Suicide Run, which basically just felt like, oh, let's have a big epic story, so with 10 years of Punisher ongoing, here is just the end. It's basically a way of Chuck Dixon wrapping up this run. It's good, really good, and I guess at this point that the books were not selling very well. So like, okay, let's have this big crossover and all whatever basically Chuck Dixon was doing, and just publish like let's just have just a refresh of this book, a real refresh this character, get rid of the other 2 books, and have only one Punisher book. And the only reason why that War Zone and War Journal last as long as they did, because they probably were pretty profitable for Marvel. And plus, also War Zone was a book that was started by John Romita Jr., who was a hot artist at that point. His artwork is okay. I don't hate his artwork. It just I'm not the biggest fan of his art. So with this, basically, we are kind of the way done with Chuck Dixon's time Punisher. So now, let's discuss my final thoughts on Chuck Dixon's Punisher, along with final thoughts on Punisher Volume 2, the first volume for Punisher War Journal, and first volume for Punisher War Zone. First, though, with Chuck Dixon. His Times books. I really enjoyed his Times books. I would say he probably had one of the most important runs in the history of this character, alongside with Stephen Grant and Mike Baron. I consider him probably one of the top 10 best writers for the character, who actually had good handle on the character. He apparently loved this character so much he basically kind of almost kind of forced Mike Baron up title, but Mike Baron had a problem with it at all. I mean, to this day, they have no hard feelings with each other over this. They're friends this very day. They work together in Riververse, and of course, Mike Baron does his own stuff. Chuck Dixon does his own thing. And, of course, Punisher Warzone will come back a couple times after this, actually 3 times. 2 separate volumes and a freaking movie. Yes, there's a Punisher Warzone movie that failed the box office because it was poorly marketed. Oh yes, it is one of like half movies I've heard of where the only reason why it bombed box office was not because the film was bad, it's because the marketing was horrible. This is along with films like John Carter. The marketing movie was really bad because apparently they didn't put a trailer together. One person pointed out though, like, yeah, good movie, but you actually failed at marketing the movie. You basically failed your job. So these movies basically, I should mention briefly, were failures because of bad marketing. Punisher Warzone, the Dread movie, John Carter, and those are the 3 I can think of, but that's the reason why. War Journal will come back as second volume, but it would not have the amount of success that the first volume did. It lasted not as long as that one, and for some reason Marvel didn't acknowledge his legacy number for this book. Yeah, believe it or not, basically, toward the end of this particular book, issue 20 was basically the 100th issue of the series, but Marvel didn't acknowledge it. Nope, they did not. They didn't acknowledge it. No legacy numbering. Nothing. I'll talk about it at some point. Warzone would never come back as an ongoing series. From what I can tell, nope. As a matter of fact, the second, third volume published while I was reading comics. Yeah, as mini-series. Though second volume discussed a little bit later, I had discussed third volume already. Third volume was meant to be an epilogue to Greg Ruckus' time in the book. War Journal was a book started not by Chuck Dixon. Now, War Journal definitely was started by him. Okay, if you're really curious when it comes to these books, so this lasted from 87 to 95. And these are your writers for these 104 issues. You have Mike Baron for the first 44 issues, 46 and 48, 50, 62, and 76. He also wrote the first 4 endings for the series. Chuck Dixon, who kind of in a way replaced Mike Baron in the book, he did 49, 45, 49, 63, and 109 and 104. Dan Abnett kind of in a way filled in the gap between Dixon. Mostly it was Dan Abnett and Roger Sluck kind of filling the gap between Dixon and Mike Baron. Abnett did issue 64-75, 82 to 84, 94 95. Roger Sluck did 75, 77, 80, and 79. And kind of wrote the first 3 annuals. Stephen Grant also does work too in the book. He did issues 80 to 81, 85 to 88. Of course, we also did reviews for the... apparently, I did check about this. Whose idea was it for all these... the summer special, the back to school special, holiday special? This was Carl Potts' idea. He was the editor of the book. It was all his idea. Quick little one-shots. Why not? Warzone did not have many writers with it. It only had 2 in its entire existence. So, mostly put, you had just Chuck Dixon writing this book, who did the first 11 issues, 25, 37, and 41, and 30 to 40. I think Mike Baron also did some issues too. Yep, he did. Mike Baron actually issued this book. You're thinking, really? Oh yeah, he did. In case you're curious. Actually, no, he didn't work on Warzone. I think it was, It was Dan Abbott and Annie Lenning. Yeah, they had a run on this book. Oh yeah, they did. If you're curious, what issues they write for the book? Well, they also published year 1 as well. Let's see. Who was the writers of War Zone? When Dixon was not writing the book. I think it may have been Larry Hama. Let me take a look at that there. I think it may have been Larry Hama who was the writer for those issues. And this is issues 12 to 25. I think it was either him or Mike Barron. Let's see. It was Dan Abnett. I think he would do it. It was him and mostly him and Mike Barron. Mike Barron and Larry Hama. So Dan and Larry Hama wrote some issues of this book. But as for War Journal, the original book, you had Carl Potts for the first 15 issues, and 1724. Mike Barron did 16 and 25, 37. Stephen Grant did issues 50, 65, 75. Chuck Dixon practically wrote the second half of this book. He did issues 38 to 42, 42 to 44, 75 to 80. Roger Rittman did issue 43. Roger Slick to 64. And I think John Williams probably did issue one of the 8. Here's the thing about this first 5. It had no annuals. It was the only Punisher book of the 3 that had no annuals. The main Punisher book had 7 annuals. And here's a weird fun fact comes set. All the volumes published since then had annuals. Only produced 1. Yeah, I found it interesting. Every volume that's had annuals since then only produced 1, and that was it. They just gave it to 1. Yep. So, with these books finished up, basically Punisher, well, next up for Punisher, the main book is going to be Volume 3, which is not that long a book. It's like 18 issues. For War Journal, it's basically on to the second volume of the series. But not starting issue 1. Oh, no, not issue 1. I am starting with the second volume. I am starting out with, issue 5. It's going to take me a bit of time. Though I did read the last trade for this one. Yes, I have. Yeah, the last trade, which was the Secret Invasion. I have read them. I have reviewed them already, so I don't need to worry about that. So I just need a review for Volume 2, just issues, just most of the remaining issues. I'll discuss it later on. Yep. But not much to say about these books. I enjoyed all 3 books. None were bad. Some are okay, but I think that probably, in my opinion, for these books, the best writers were Stephen Grant, Chuck Dixon, and Mike Barron. Larry Hama put some good stuff out there. I consider him just up there. Dan Abbott's some interesting stuff. I don't think anybody was bad. I think the one-shot writers probably put out some okay stuff. But yeah. So, I'm ready here because it's getting kind of late. So, I will see you all tomorrow for my reviews for mostly just Doctor Who and some comic corners. Okay? Thanks, Bye.